All right, so here I had a 2021 Honda Civic that I was working on. It had all these lights on. So what I did was I did a full system scan, and in the ABS module, these are the codes I got, C0051-96 and U0126, which I basically think they mean the same thing. As far as the C0051, you have to be careful with that one, because if you get C0051 with the 54 at the end, that means the steering wheel angle sensor isn't calibrated. But as far as the 96, that's different. I'm guessing what it just says is there's a failure with the steering wheel angle sensor. As far as the U0126, I think it basically means the same thing, but it has to do with the CAN communication. But all in all, I think they're the same thing. So what I did was I ended up going to the EPS module to see what the failure is in there. These codes are basically telling you, go into the EPS module if you can talk to it and see what the failure is in there. Well, here in the EPS module, I have codes C1420, incorrect correlation of main torque sensor and sub torque sensor, which I'll explain in a sec, and then C1422, which is telling me there's a malfunction of sub torque sensor. So there's two signals, main torque sensor and sub torque sensor, and this 1422 is for something wrong with the sub torque sensor side of it. There might be a different code for main torque sensor if there's something wrong on that side. But this, like I said, this was for sub torque sensor. And one symptom you'll have is that the steering wheel will be extremely hard. So here what I'm doing is I'm trying to turn the steering wheel and see if any of these sensors are reading. The main torque sensor is reading, but the sub is at 0.00 volts. And when you're turning that steering wheel side to side, or when it's working correctly, this is what it should look like. You should have voltage on both of them. And here when it's working, this is when I was done, I'm turning the steering wheel, and you can see those voltages are going up and down, up and down. One goes up and one goes down depending on how you're turning it. And luckily for me, when I looked this up on the internet, I found this website and this forum where these guys were talking about this problem, this rodent wire damage problem that these guys had on their Civics. And it's funny because I guess it's common enough where these guys are talking about it, but there's no videos about it. But basically, there's a harness by the steering rack that rodents like to chew on, and there's the sub harness that this guy had. The guys were talking about what the part number is, but obviously it's going to be a little different depending on the year, on the sub model, and all that. So if you want to replace the sub harness, make sure you call the dealer to get the right one. And here, this is the area where they cut into my car, you know, the rodent, or where they bit into it. Here is the steering angle sensor connector. It's a 6-pin, but it's only four wires. All right. I chose to make the repair for the customer at the time, and then recommended that they change the sub harness. I don't know if there's like an updated one where, you know, it's less rodent friendly, but once I fixed it, you can see my steering wheel went back to normal. It's not hard anymore. So once I repaired that and cleared all the codes, these are the codes that I was left with, U3000 and C0051, same code, but like I said, at the end, that 54 is different. It's not a 96 anymore, it's a 54. The 54 means it needs to, the steering angle needs to be relearned. All right. And the U3000 basically means the same thing. It's not calibrated, or it's not relearned, whatever. So you need a scan tool to do that. And unfortunately for me, I had to do this procedure, this relearn procedure, like 5 times because I just couldn't get it right, apparently. And then when I looked into the EPS module, I had this was the only code that I had, but that just means that there's a code in the ABS module. So to do the relearn, I go here into special functions, and then here I go to all sensors, and then here I'm just you got to read all that, and then to do the reset, you got to make sure you do it correctly. So it says turn 90 degrees to the left, and this is with the car on, then turn it 180 degrees from there to the right, and then from there turn it 180 degrees to the left, and then from there it says slowly turn the steering wheel to the left, which I thought was weird, and then so I turned it a little more to the left and then turned 90 degrees to the right, which just means get it straight again. And then I press OK. It says turn the ignition off, turn it on. and then it was successful, which was weird because I did it, like I said, I did it like 5 times and I just couldn't get it right. And like I said, I did this with the engine on, so it's easier to turn the steering wheel, you know, to side, and you have to do it with the scan tool because you have to put it into that mode. Another way you could get it to reset it, I read, was that you just turn the steering wheel all the way to the left and then all the way to the right with the engine on, ignition on, and then it'll relearn itself like that. But that didn't end up working for me. Usually that works after you replace a battery. If you didn't do a memory saver and you just disconnected the battery like that, that's when it usually works. But in this case, it didn't work. And this is the way I got all those lights to finally come off. So another thing I will mention is this code 1422 here is only for that white wire that was broken. So if it has any other wire broken, like the yellow one or the green one, it'll set a different code. And I don't know if it'll set that 1420 code, because I think 2 of those wires are for the main torque and the sub torque. And the other wire, which is the black one, I think it might be a ground. And then there's one more wire, which I don't know what it is. It could be like a 5-volt reference. I'm not sure. All I'm trying to say is that the rodent can bite any of those, and then you'll get like a different type of code. It's just funny enough that on my car, it was a white wire that they chewed off, and then in the forum, the guys that were posting pictures, they had the white wire too that was chewed on. And then here, what I'm trying to show is when you do look up the instructions on how to like diagnose it, it'll say that you have to go to the 6-pin connector, and then it'll never say where it's at. It'll just say it's at the sensor, at the steering wheel angle sensor. But it's down here at the rack, right here where it connects to the steering shaft. It's a 6-pin connector, but only, like I said, it only has 4 wires, which is kind of funny. And then the other end of it is hard. It's kind of hard to get to because there's like a metal bracket or a metal shield to get to that other side of it. But I'm only saying this because, like I said, I was trying to find the information on where this 6-pin connector was when I was trying to research how to diagnose all this stuff, and it just wasn't saying where it was at. And then, funny enough, it's literally at the steering rack. I do suggest that you just replace this harness here if it was already bitten into it. I don't know if there's like an updated part so rodents don't get into it as easy. Or you could just wrap it up with a bunch of electrical tape. But yeah, if you have any questions, just let me know and I'll try to help you out. That's all I can think of for now.